Baby, this just gets more and more unnerving. The more we watched, the more disgusted we became, the more in disbelief I know I became, the more appalled I became, and the more I kind of looked at my own damn life and was like, hell, I might have been manipulated a time or two. I am your girl, Talisa Rae. What's up? How you doing, Ray of Sunshines? Yes, baby, we are still reviewing Surviving R. Kelly. The last two episodes, number 5 and 6. All the missing girls and Black Girls Matter. Let me just say this. When I think back to when I dated my oldest son's father, he manipulated the fuck out of me. Like, I was stupid for him. Like, I would have done anything for him. And so when I'm listening to these girls, okay, it wasn't this extreme, but I could see clearly that they weren't in their right mind. I could see, especially those ones that were like 17 when they first met him, hell, 18, 19, and how much you would be willing to do to please them. Like, child, listen, my heart goes out to these families. And for everybody who was saying, where were their parents? Where are these girls' parents? Honey, 3 sets of parents went ahead and showed on up and told y'all where they was at and how it all went down. So, let's talk about, I don't want to talk about Dominique, but I do want to talk about Dominique because Dominique's story, had me in tears when they were in Beverly Hills. Let's just go ahead and talk about it. Okay, so Dominique was the one that was 17 years old that Geronda had introduced to R. Kelly because they were both fans of his and had met on MySpace. Geronda had left. Geronda had also went out and spoke publicly about R. Kelly during this whole Me Too movement. She went ahead and decided to go against her NDA and to speak out and not allow the money that he gave her to continue to control her. And while Geronda was talking, all I kept thinking was, Geronda gonna get Dominique fucked up. Like, you know, there is no way that he is not going to watch this. There is no way that his camp is not going to watch this. When I was listening to like the Shadowman is what I'm gonna call him, the one that came in secret, the former employee that was secret, he probably had an NDA and didn't want to say nothing. And I was listening to him and I thought to myself, that is how we think. When he said, let me look for it. When he said that he was passing judgment, or she, I think it was a guy though, was passing judgment on the ladies, going, these bitches is crazy. I wouldn't dare do none of this stuff. Like when he walks into a room, jump up immediately and kiss him and all that kind of stuff. Like he said, I realized that he was sick, that it wasn't the women, that in fact it was him and the things that he was saying to them and the false things he was making them say, like that they had stole from him, or that the parents had stole from him, just anything that he could manipulate them with. And it's funny when they said that that's exactly what we as a community are doing to these women. When I hear these people making fun and still rooting for R. Kelly, we are passing judgment on these women. One of my conversations, I know we were talking about Dominique, but one of my conversations went like this. When we were 13 and 14 and 15, we did things that we went against our parents. We didn't have good judgment, but we made the decisions on our own. And I had to agree with her, but in that same breath, he a grown man. And what we realize now is not only was it just young women, he wanted women that he could control. We saw a 33-year-old. We saw a 35-year-old. He wanted women he could control. And of course, younger women, women that are not fully developed, underage women, women that are still in their teens, 19 on down, are easier to control than, let's say, a grown woman. But grown women can be controlled too. We saw that easily manipulated, easily eased into. And it was just, every time I listen, it's like such classic abusive behavior. But when you're in the middle of it, you don't fucking see it. Like, wow. Okay, Dominique. Dominique, 17 years old. I told you guys how they met. But when Geronda had said that, you know, Dominique was tomboyish, right? She was tomboyish. And so R. Kelly played that up. by cutting her hair off and dressing her like a boy so that he could get that fetish. I was like, oh, okay, R. Kelly, you secretly like little boys too? So you're using poor Dominique as that fetish? Little boys, little girls, it don't matter. But it just put another layer of disgust on what we saw or what we thought about him as a person. Like, oh, you like little boys. So you probably are using Geronda, you're probably using your Dominique for sodomy. Child, all kinds of things was going through my mind. And I'm going to apologize to you now because this is probably going to be longer than the other two. We might make the 30-minute mark. Geronda also told us what her breaking point was. And I liked hearing each of the ladies' breaking point and what that thing was. Because if you remember before, and they repeated it on one of these 5 or 6, that it takes a woman that has been abusive or an abusive, who's being abused, to leave anywhere from 7 to 10 times to leave that relationship. So I liked hearing when they got the courage to leave. And for Geronda, it was when he lifted her up because he was 6'1" and she was 5'1". There you go with that whole petite thing. He said to Wendy Williams that he liked petite women because they were easier to manhandle. And so she blacked out. He choked her. She blacked out. She fell on the floor. That was the last straw. And so as I was thinking about this, since we're here, and we were thinking about the women as they were leaving, they were just so manipulated and controlled by him. They could have all just walked out at any time. Because you hear the ladies, each of them say, I packed my bags and I left. Because he wasn't always there. But he had so much control over them that psychological manipulation is what it's called, is what the psychologist said, over them, that they didn't even leave the house when he left because people were watching. What people were watching? Throw them fuckers under the bus too. So, okay, back to Dominique. Michelle Kramer is what every woman on here is thinking. She did everything that we as women, as a mother, if I was a mother of daughters, but I'm a mother of sons, and I would still act the same exact way. When she came to Beverly Hills, and it looked like the Beverly Hills Hotel, but y'all don't hold me to that. And she went to find her daughter. She went into one of the hotels. They were like, we don't have anyone by that name here. And then she talked to somebody who looked like we do, somebody familiar, somebody who we could ask questions to and would probably sympathize with us, a black brother. He said, try the hotel across the street, because she didn't realize there were 2 hotels with the same name. She goes across the street and asks and gives her plot, which was, or her ploy, her game plan. I am Dominique Gardner's mother. She doesn't know I'm here. Could you let her know she has a package down in the lobby and I'd like to see her? And she needs to come and get it. When they did that, Dominique was like, well, I'm not coming up. I'm not coming down. You know, like I said, he had manipulated them to the point where they were afraid to do anything without his permission. She would have had to call him to say, is it okay, Daddy, is it okay for me to go downstairs to get a package for me? He say, no, I didn't send no package. The fuck you going down there for? No. That's exactly how that went. The manager walked her upstairs. Well, I can walk you upstairs, which was very kind. I was holding my breath in anticipation when they were knocking on that door. And for Dominique to come outside, okay, open the door, and she hugged her, and she's like, somebody's in here. Who are these people? Talking about the producers. You know, can you come back? Can I see you? Can you come back at 6? And she said, yeah. Now, put a pin in that, because the only reason Michelle Kramer saw Dominique was because of that TMZ shit that came out. And Joycelyn was in Beverly Hills with a friend, shopping with a friend. And when you remember, I remember seeing that clip and thinking to myself, these ladies look uncomfortable to me, But in looking at the clip, you didn't think about Dominique because we didn't know nothing about Dominique. Michelle hadn't come on publicly, so we didn't know what she looked like. Dominique looked afraid and nervous and skittish and just, what am I supposed to do? Had a hat on. But I also think that he changed her appearance because Michelle said, remember my name, Michelle Kramer. I'm coming. Remember me, I'm her mother. Like, that probably scared the shit out of him. Nevertheless, when she goes back at 6 o'clock, I felt it in my spirit that something wasn't right. I felt it like, oh my God, something's not right. This don't feel right. When she goes into the hotel, the manager asked to take her to his office to talk to him and says, when you left, she called 911. She said you weren't her mother. And called 911. The police came, so I have to ask you to leave. If you stay, you're trespassing, and I'll have to call the police. Oh, my heart was broken. But instantly relieved when she went outside and decided, let me call her room. And she called her room and she said, well, where are you? They said you called the police on me. And the baby was like, no, I didn't. So she said she went to the bathroom at a restaurant next door or somewhere. I don't know where, y'all. Let me know down below in the comments. That part was kind of fuzzy and I kept rewinding and pausing and I just was like, let me let this play out. And met her downstairs and with her backpack, and she ran out of there. And it was just, when I tell you that I was crying, like I got tears. Like it was like a relief, like joy, like excitement, like I can't even explain how I felt. And I'm sure some of you felt the same way. Like I'm emotional and I'm empathetic, so I'm all in the TV. Like he had changed the way she looked, her self-esteem, who she was. Like, you could tell he had broke her down to a place of just very timidness, very much so of submission, and not in a good way. I just felt bad, like he had just ruined her. Later at the end, they said that she had went back 3 days later, but eventually escaped R. Kelly again. Because when she went back, he probably whooped her ass for leaving. And she probably was like, what the fuck am I doing and why am I here? And left again. But it's the mentality of the abused. Like, I'm not good enough. He's the only one that's going to want me. I'm uncomfortable. I've been used to this life for however many years. So, I don't know, was she 20? At least 3 years. It had been a long time that she had been under R. Kelly's fucking, what would you call that? I don't know. Anyway, let us talk about Joycelyn. Joycelyn Savage is the daughter of Tim and John Janelle. Okay, I'm probably butchering that. Savage. They are the family that went on and pleaded and said and actually did the exposing of the sex cult and said that they had not seen their daughter in X amount of years, and was the reason that the TMZ interview had aired in the first place. The reason that they were out in Beverly Hills shopping, R. Kelly and her, which seemed fucking weird and uncomfortable. And when you look back at that TMZ video today, and you look back at it, and you look at her body language, and you look at the way she was reacting, you realize that she was nervous, she was scared, she probably figured, if I don't do this shit right, I'm gonna get my ass beat. And then the Shadowman, that's the former employee, that's what we're gonna call him, the Shadowman said, let it be known that it was scripted, that somebody told her what to say, when to say it, and when to cut her off. And we know that it wasn't R. Kelly. Well, he was probably there, but there was people with him that are part of this whole grand scheme of sex slaves and sex cults and, you know, just women in captivity. And yes, they are willing, but they have been manipulated, brainwashed, psychologically manipulated. And I remember Michelle calling John Janelle, I don't know, or Mrs. Savage, let's say that. I remember her calling her and saying, I saw my daughter, I talked to my daughter, and Joycelyn is in the room with her. You know, but, you know, and of course, Mrs. Savage had lots of questions that she wanted, but that ain't my priority right now. My priority is my Dominique. I saw my Dominique. I cannot imagine. Jesus. Y'all, I was so excited and just filled with joy and was really hoping that, you know, that the other two girls would have come out like that. Okay, so Tom Joyner had said something because we still, as a community, have still been embracing R. Kelly and his music, and no matter what's being said, you still have people talking about leave R. Kelly alone. I mean, it's the same thing that, like I said last time, like with Michael Jackson, like with Bill Cosby. Like, we know that the shit was done, but we want to just, you know, close the closet and keep it in there. You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't want to talk about it. It's that whole somebody's touching you and don't tell. You know what I'm saying? It's that whole mentality. But what Tom Joyner said was, black people are forgiving. And if that is not the truth, black people are forgiving. Think about a black woman and a man that abuses her, or a man that cheats on her. Black women will give you a chance and a chance and a chance to get it right. Like, we are forgiving as a community because of what he said, because of our belief, of our belief system and our values and how we were raised and what was passed on. Whereas our white counterparts, honey, will cut you off in a heartbeat and not give zero fucks. We'll have to talk about that on another day. But I just really want you guys to consider how forgiving we are. But we've been through so much. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's how we've survived, by having mercy and forgiveness for people. But sometimes enough is enough. When do we say enough is enough? Like, right now, I'm all like, okay, enough is enough. You can't fucking say nothing to me about R. Kelly and think that I'm going to be okay with his behavior after watching this and hearing these women and their outpour and their cry and what they went through. And yes, they were willing participants. And yes, they may have been naive. And yes, they may have been tricked. And yes, we might be looking at them like, how? I could definitely see how. Y'all, okay, I'm getting emotional. So then we meet Miss Kitty Jones, who is 33, who met R. Kelly when she was 33. She's now about 40 because she said it was 7 years ago in 2011. So if we do the math, she's 40. She was a radio DJ and went to a party and met him. He asked her how old she was, and she said, I'm in my 30s. And he was like, really? Because she looked young. You know, if you look at those pictures, she looked young. She looked like she might have been in her early 20s. You know, she didn't look like late teens, but she looked very young. But she was very petite and very modest. And, I mean, you know, very, you know, very ladylike. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the best thing I could say. Because, you know, yeah. So she said that they have been dating. And the funny thing is, every woman says the same damn thing. They have the same exact story. We started dating. He was funny. We would talk on the phone. We would text. He would fly me out to his tours. Same shit. We were like a couple. He treated me well. She said we had been doing so well that then he was like, I want you to move to Chicago. And she was like, okay. Like, it was a consensual idea for her to move to Chicago, and she was good with it. She said they constantly said, I love you, and that they were in love. Well, she said, I love you, and, you know, it constitutes being in love, I suppose. And that she had never seen any of the girls. She had went back home to Dallas and saw a friend, and she asked her friend asked her, have you seen the tape? Her friend was really protecting her. Do you know what you're fucking getting yourself into? Have you seen the tape? And she said she was offended. Like, how could dare you bring that up and talk to me about that when I'm dating him and we're together, and he was vindicated, or he was acquitted of all the charges from the child pornography trial. How could you bring that up? But now her curiosity was piqued, and she looked on the internet and she saw photos, and she realized that the girl she saw in the photo was one of the girls she had recently been introduced to. So, bitch, what we have now learned is that he's telling these women, I have other women. Yes, there are girls. You know what I'm saying? Like, he has now graduated, evolved into being bold enough to be like, yeah, I got these other bitches. I got all these women, and you're going to have to deal with it if you're going to be my girl. I'm forward thinking, okay? Y'all know I'm forward thinking when it comes to a lot of things. But at what point do you start questioning, like, the logic behind some of the shit he's saying? And what she said was, I thought about it, but now I was too far in. I loved him. I wanted to protect him. He had started saying, when I called him and I told him about it, and he started talking to me like he had never talked to me before. Bitch, don't bring that shit up to me no more. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, started demeaning her. Get your ass back home. No. I mean, that's how we feel. But, listen, I cannot condemn her. You know what I'm saying? I can't pass judgment on what was behind her reasoning for going back, because she loved him. And y'all know that love will have you doing some stupid shit. Like, I just think about my own first real love, or what I thought was love, and I was being manipulated by my son's father, and I think to myself, y'all, I understand. Like, it wasn't this bad, but I could see it. I could see it. He did try and isolate me from my friends. He would get upset when I would say I'm going out with my girlfriends. My friend Mish hated him. Honey, my friend Slick hated his guts because she felt like he had changed me and he was manipulating me. And looking back on that, like, even when I look back on it when I was in my 30s, I realized that he did manipulate me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was naive. Y'all, we having transparent moments and shit all up and through here, okay? Everybody ain't strong coming out the gate. I got my own shit. I really fall into the category of some of these young girls. Y'all don't understand how much I'm like, Lord, thank you. Thank you for covering me all these years and not letting me be so fucking stupid. Because had that man not gone to prison, I would have been probably like this. He would have been having all kind of control of me and people would have been really calling me stupid. Like, I think about that shit. Like, y'all. Ooh, that's probably why I am like I am now. I digress. Let's get back to Miss Kitty. Kitty said she got back and he whooped her ass in that car. Slapped her up and down in that car. And then when they got back, that is when he was introduced. She was introduced to the other girls. And immediately, I'm looking here and I wrote down stupid. Like, I'm really talking about myself. You be stupid. Like, anyway. So he immediately, again, it's the same cycle. He's doing the same shit. He immediately started training her. Okay? Isolating her. Asking when to go to the bathroom. Asking if it was okay. This is when we found out that you had to stand up when he walked into a room. Like, hop up when he walked into a room. And when he was walking past you, that you had to fucking avert your eyes and look down. And all she could say is it was too late and she was in it. And she was in it. Her breaking point was they were in the studio. Oh, wait. They talked about the whole cage scene. Kingston talked about the whole cage scene. And that, you know, the whole pretend and write a contract and blah, blah, blah. But he was like, this is what you're going to have to do when you get home. Talking about her NDA. Talk about her contract to him. All that noise in the background is Kingston. He got his earphones on playing Fortnite. But I just was like, oh, my heart. Kingston, you're too loud. Oh, my heart, you guys. And I just was like, and so she said she felt like that they were back on track, that they were back in the place that they were supposed to be. He started training her, and then after the cage stuff, is when he got introduced to the girls, and she said it would never be more than 3 of them at a time. I guess 3 of the women and him having sex together at a time. But it was very humiliating and very degrading. And I guess this one time she went to a studio, she went to the studio with him, or they were in the studio, and he was upset with her and she couldn't eat. She hadn't eaten for 3 days. And she just looked up at him and he said, "Don't fucking stare at me when I'm eating." And she had been starving and she had got an attitude and said, "I wasn't staring at you." And she said, "At this point, this is when I knew that I was starting to get strong enough that I was no longer afraid of him, because I was either trying to think of what I could do to hurt me or what I could do to hurt him." Now that tells you something, okay, when you want to hurt yourself. She finally got the nerve to walk away, but she was still not strong enough. Like, oh my God. And she was saying that she got to the airport and she was humiliated too. Like, I'm going to be coming back and people are going to be like, "Well, what happened? What's wrong? Why are you back so soon?" And she was like, "I was feeling humiliated. Like, and if he answers his phone because she called, I'm going to go back." And he didn't answer, so she got to go. She went on home. But just think about that. She would have went back. She wasn't strong enough. Quite not yet. But thank God. God knew. Somebody had been praying for her. That friend was praying for her. But she probably... And then the Shadowman had said, he was looking for people who were weak and did not have family, or he could manipulate their family, or, you know what I'm saying? Or they didn't have family. And so you see, Kitty didn't say anything about her family. I wonder if she had family, because that's exactly what would have been. My son's father would not have been able to manipulate my mother. My mother did tell me, I want to say probably in my 30s, I had Kingston by then, and fully, just acclimated into being who you see in front of you. And she said, at one point I thought I was going to have to lock you in the closet to get some sense into you because of the man because of Royal's dad. Like, y'all, we should have a conversation about that all on its own. We still on episode 4, and I still got a whole lot left. So, Azriel met R. Kelly when she was 17. Y'all asked about parents. We talked about the Savages, but I'm talking about now the Clarys, okay? These seem like real parents and how you would react. They took their daughter with them to an R. Kelly concert. R. Kelly pulled her on the stage. Number one, that's where we say that's where we should have said no. But like the daddy said, we seemed like it would have been fine. It seemed like it would have been okay. We were there. And then she was taking too long to come back. We had to go around and get her. He gave his card. And she, they was like, "Well, we right here," and she can't talk to him unless we're around. But later on, they found out that she had been calling and texting him. She had been calling and texting him secretly, to the point that she went and met him at a hotel. She did call her parents and say, "Hey, I'm at the hotel with R. Kelly. I'm here for my audition." Both of the parents left their fucking jobs and went up to that hotel and was like, "My daughter is here. You need to find her. She's underage, or I'm calling the police." And guess what? She came down, but she came down in hysterics. "You're going to mess up my chances. This is my chance to be a singer. Blase, blase, blase." Also, they agreed to allow her to talk to him, but had to have somebody around, an adult, every time they were around. And he was like, "Well, I want to work with her, but she needs to be fully committed and needs to come with me on tour." And so they agreed to it, as long as there was some type of guardian there. And he promised that it would be a record label exec. So at one point, though, let me back up. At one point, it was just the mother, the father, the sister going. And one time, the sister went with her to Chicago, and it was nothing like she had thought. He had already started training her and manipulating her. He had did it to the point where Azriel was afraid for her sister Isis. Okay, it had gotten to the point where Isis was like, "I'm gonna call the police and say you kidnapped my sister. Where's my sister?" Like, it was a hot ass mess. And I understand why Isis may have said, "I'm not going to tell my parents what I'm trying to understand that reason." It's like a child, when somebody touches your child and they tell you, "Don't tell nobody or I'm going to kill your mama or I'm going to kill your daddy." It was that kind of, she felt protective or was trying to protect her mother and father. But I be damned, like I told my children, like I tell them all the time, I don't give a fuck what nobody tell you. I tell my children, if they say they're going to kill your mama, let your mama worry about that. You tell me, because I guarantee if you tell me first, they won't be able to kill me if I know. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was that whole kind of thing. And I was a little disappointed that the older sister didn't tell her parents at that time, because that would have changed the dynamic of the situation. When they came down there to Chicago, they would have took that daughter and probably locked her in the closet like my mother would have wanted to do to me. Listen, I'm just here to tell y'all the truth. They did go ahead and agree to the whole guardian while he was on tour. Who was the guardian? Who was the record label exec? Who was the person? Because it had to be somebody. They had to have signed a contract. And this is what people were saying when they say, oh, some of these people are just giving their child away to him for the stardom, for the fame. But the way that they are saying it, it makes sense. Even though you still know. And the dad said, I know. And he even at the end was like, I feel like less of a father. I feel horrible because I didn't protect my daughter from this. You never know what your daughter is going through if you're not talking to her. She was in that curious stage, that I'm grown stage, where we think we grown, but we really ain't grown. Like, oh, my heart broke when they were like, well, she turned 18 and all communication was cut off. There was no more communication with my daughter. They hadn't seen their daughter in 3 years. Y'all seen her when they went to Chicago. They tried their best because Dominique had made mention that that's where she had stayed, because Azriel was a flight risk. She was rebellious too. She had tried to run away before and they caught her and brought her back. Like, if these people love you, they wouldn't want to run away from you, R. Kelly. If these people love you, they would want to stay with you. And if you love them like you say you do, instead of just wanting people to control, you would definitely allow them to make decisions on their own. The sister Isis had said something about seeing buckets later on when she told her parents about seeing buckets in the corner where the girls had to pee. And she said, all I could think is, why would you want to be peeing in the corner when you could be at home with a toilet and peeing? You know what I'm saying? Like, again, that whole judgment thing we do, that whole blaming the victim, blaming, you know what I'm saying, the abusee, instead of looking at what it was, saying that, oh, we should be able to make these decisions. But as I think back on my life, as I think about what these people are saying, they use manipulation tactics. First, I draw you in and make you love me and want to be with me and make you think that I'm the best thing and I'm the best thing for you. Then they isolate you. They remove you from your friends, want to occupy all your time. Then start trying to tell you what to do and how to dress and who to be and what to act. Now, I was always rebellious, but I'm just going to tell you, I could see it. I was head over heels for my son's father. I was stupid for him. And that's the honest to God truth. I can say that now today with no shame in it. R. Kelly has bodies, okay? Like, he has ruined lives. And this probably is just a small percentage of the women's lives that he's ruined. We then met Asante McGee, who is a super duper fan. We found out that she had been married before, that the relationship was abusive, and that he was a cheater. And when they had started dating, he was charismatic, fun, loving, very inviting, very much pull you in, very much want to spend time with you, you know, fly you, make you feel like you special. But he also told her that there were other women and that you needed to deal with it. And she felt that that was admirable because her husband had previously cheated on her. Because, of course, like most people, you don't want to believe the accusations of your accuser. Like, you know, nobody, not none of y'all, but a lot of people don't want to believe the things that people are saying about R. Kelly, okay? So she was one of those people, women included. Y'all saw the lines of people still going to see him and saying, well, I'm just here for the music. I like his music. Okay? But she was pulled in like everybody else. She said that they were in a relationship for 2 years before she had been pulled into that world. Like, she had never seen any of that before. She also took us back to the house. When she first got to the house, she said it wasn't it was consensual, but through intimidation. Like, get your clothes, you coming back. He knew that he had her mind and that she was willing to just be with him because he was R. Kelly. Because I love R. Kelly. And she said it, Robert is the devil. R. Kelly is fun-loving and kind, but Robert is the devil. She took us back in the house, okay? And it was more than one of them when she went to the house. He was like, welcome home, my babies. Showed her room and the other girls their rooms. Like, it wasn't just her. You see what I'm saying? It's all too much. It's all too much. But nonetheless, she took us back to the Olympia house. And she did not want to go into what was her previous room. You could see the anxiety building up on her. And then she went into what was called the black room, where the windows was black, the walls was black, I think she said, and the furniture was black, and that was where all the horrible sex acts, the demeaning, degrading sex acts would occur. And she was hyperventilating. She was having an anxiety attack. The memories of it had really ruined her. If she hasn't gotten some therapy, she needs to. These women need to go and get some psychological help, because that he is fucked with their psyche. Like, honestly, I'm being serious. You got to get some help for some shit that has tormented you. You know what I mean? I'm sure you do. Then we were introduced to Faith Rogers. Faith was 19 when she met him. I can't remember where she said. I can't remember where she said that they met. Maybe a concert. I'm not sure. Pretty chocolate thing. She said she flew out to New York for his concert. After the concert, she went back to her room. She went to sleep and was awakened by a loud bang on the door at 6 a.m. in the morning. And it wasn't a light knock. It was very much so aggressive. And he opened his way in the door and they had sex. And she said it was consenting, but by intimidation. Okay. And he had told her, you're not moaning enough. Is it good to you? Tell me that it's good to you. She said, and I wasn't cooperating. You can see she defiant. Okay. She probably was like, wait, hold on. She said, I felt like I had to have sex with him because he was R. Kelly. And he wasn't anything like he was when we were having the conversations. He wasn't anything like that. And so pretty much, honestly, if he forced himself on her, they didn't use a condom. That's low-key rape. Like, but she was okay with it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm going to ask y'all, ladies, a serious question. Have you ever been in a situation where you just felt like, well, let me just go ahead and do this. Let me just go ahead and do this and just get it over with. I really don't want to. But I don't really want to voice it because I like him and we've been talking and it's fine. Have you ever? I'm asking. I'm being honest. I want to know. Let me know down below in the comments. Like, ain't no judgment here. Ain't no judgment here. It's all love. This is a healthy, open dialogue. Y'all see how damn transparent I am with y'all. So then after, she said that he told her about the girls. And then said, fuck it, called somewhere, told her to open the door. Went down there, and it was Joycelyn. She said, I looked at the girl, and that was the girl from TMZ. She said, at that point, I knew I would never go back. I was relieved that her story was not, I ended up going to the house and I was, you know, his, you know, submissive and doing the things that he wanted to do, and he was degrading me and demeaning me. I was glad to see that she walked away, that she was strong enough to know that this isn't something that she wanted to be a part of. But she also reached out to the Savages and let them know that I saw your daughter. And she said, I felt like they were asking questions that you shouldn't have to ask about your daughter. Like, what does she look like? Does she look skinny? How was she? You know what I'm saying? She said, I felt like I shouldn't have asked. That was stuff that a parent shouldn't have to ask. Like, they should be able to talk to their parents. And she was like, I'm so glad that I didn't stay. But the daddy said, have you been checked for STDs? I know for a fact my daughter has an STD that is not curable. She went and got checked and homegirl has herpes. They in Atlanta. Ain't that where your boy Usher is? Okay, like, so herpes is floating around in Atlanta rampantly like AIDS. Y'all, do y'all know? I'm not trying to be funny or anything, but I'm just asking for myself. Let me know down below in the comments. So, of course, Faith now has a lawsuit against him, and there has been no rebuttal from R. Kelly or his team because, as you know, like what happened with Usher, he would have to take a test. Hello, somebody. Anybody, can you hear me? This whole Surviving R. Kelly series was sickening, was heartbreaking, was appalling, was disgusting, was eye-opening. You know, and I really hope that people who didn't want to watch it have a chance to watch it and hear someone else's story, hear what they have to say. And yes, R. Kelly is a musical genius, but he is also a sadistic monster, okay? I want you to know that that's how I feel after seeing this, that my heart goes out to any of the women that have had to deal with him in any form or fashion. I'm not quick to judge nobody. You know what I'm saying? Like, we all can ask for forgiveness. We all have the same way into the gates of heaven. That is by atoning for our sins, asking for forgiveness, taking responsibility, asking for our forgiveness, and then moving forward, not doing the same thing. You know, God forgives all. But I just don't see R. Kelly wanting to take responsibility or trying to atone for his behavior, or, you know, I don't know. And when that song, I admit, came out, I want y'all to know I didn't even listen. I listened to like 3 minutes of, not like 2 minutes of it, 3 minutes tops. And was like, I'm not going to listen to this bullshit. What is this bullshit? This nigga is crazy. Anyway, let me know what you guys thought about the entire series. I done kept y'all for a long ass time, longer than what I wanted to. I'm so sorry. If it's your first time visiting my channel, listen, it's not always like this, but it's always full of information and transparency and love and support, uplifting and encouragement. So you can go ahead and click the subscribe button and the notification bell, because they are best friends. They go together. Hugs and kisses and lots of love. I'll see you. You'll see me on the next video.